Hey Chicago fans, welcome into Sports Freaks Podcast. I'm your host Patrick Cummings, and today we're going to be talking about the Chicago Blackhawks and what they've done over the offseason, as well as other NHL news. Let's go into our topics of the day. We'll begin with the Blackhawks draft analysis, and then we'll head into our second topic, which is the what the Blackhawks outlook on the first line could be. And then our third topic of the day, we'll end with some of the notable NHL news that have circulated around the offseason. But without further ado, let's get into our first topic. So the Blackhawks, with the third overall pick, selected Anton Frundell. Now, I'm not going to go through all these draft picks. We're going to talk mostly about Anton Frundell. Anton Frundell, a center, 6 foot, 196 to 205 pounds. He played for the, if I'm saying this correctly, Duger Gardens. He was promoted also to the SHL. Last year, 29 games played, 11 goals, 14 assists, 25 points. That was the most points ever for a U18 player in the league. In his career, 39 points in 29 games. That was 2023, 2024. Now, some of the scouting that has been noted by some of the scouts. Frundell, good edge work and agility, acceleration, and bursts are solid, but could be sharper. Strong, mature physically for his age, able to protect the puck and withstand checks. Frundell also strong positional instincts, back pressure, good stick work, solid face-off pressure, effective penalty killer when utilized, reads the game both with and without the puck. So what appears to be that Frundell is a very skilled and a very skilled player. He has been, from what I've seen, he has been very compared to guys like Gabriel Landeskog, Leo Carlson. I think the biggest one is probably Alexander Barkov. A lot of people see him as a Alexander Barkov type player, which is a great thing for the Blackhawks. I think he's, from what I've been reading, he hasn't. From what I'm reading here, he really, I don't think he's going to be playing a whole lot this year with the Blackhawks. I could be wrong on that, but I saw he might. I think he signed with a minor league team. It wasn't the Ice Hawks, which is the Blackhawks minor league team. It's like somewhere back in a different league. But I would say probably some of the things that he has to work on once I pull that up. Frundell, I think he's going to be a very good player for the Chicago Blackhawks organization. There really wasn't really much in the draft that the Hawks could really work with. I feel like Hagens went really low. I think Hagens got drafted by Boston. I could be wrong on that one, but Hagens was originally like months before the draft started. He was supposed to be first overall, and obviously Matthew Shriver was taken by the New York Islanders. Michael Meese is the guy that I think a lot of Hawks fans wanted, but I think San Jose, that's just an easy pick for San Jose to go up and get. Protection compared. So outlook, he is a potential. So Frundell, potential top 6 center with power play and PK roles. High ceiling of skating and strength, continue improving. Some comparisons, obviously. So it says here also he also had a little bit of comparison to a guy like Nick Suzuki, which I'm a big fan of Nick Suzuki. Some of the risks that scouts have said, concerns about disappearing in big games, early season injuries, and needing skating refinement. I feel that's kind of the stuff that what's his name? Artem Levshunov, the second overall pick last year for the Blackhawks. He has some skating problem. But I think like Frundell, I haven't really evaluated him as how I evaluate other guys. But I think that this is a good pickup by the Chicago Blackhawks. He's going to be a huge key in this rebuild as time goes on. As we now head into kind of the overall draft picks, the Blackhawks actually, in terms of size and height, they actually did pretty well. I mean, they drafted 3 guys that were over 6 foot. The Blackhawks, as we know, they don't really have any big guys that are on that first line. Bedard, Nazar, Table, those guys aren't really big guys at all. But the Blackhawks, obviously, talk about Frundell. With the 25th overall pick, they selected Valkav Nostrali, if I'm saying that correctly. And then with the 29th overall pick, they picked Mason West. Nostrali, a right winger, and Mason West, a center. And then they did not have a second round pick. They had a third round pick. It was one third round pick. And they decided to use it on Nathan Bem, who was a left winger. Then they went to round 4, and then they selected Julius Sumfrith, center, and then Parker Holmes, left wing. Round 6, they used their pick on Ashton Cumby, who was a defenseman, and then a goaltender in the 7th round, Ilya Karazinski. This is not a draft class where I haven't evaluated a lot of it. Anton Frundell I think is probably the one I've evaluated the most. But I probably say, as we kind of head into the first line possible outlook, if Frundell plays, I would expect him to be kind of on that first line with Bedard. I hope that's what Jeff Blashill, if I'm saying it correctly, Jeff Blashill wants. He's going to put Frundell on that first line with Connor Bedard to give him a little bit of support. I think this has been a kind of a very disappointing offseason for the Blackhawks, is that they didn't really do much in terms of like trades. They did bring in they brought in Andre Burakovsky. They re-signed Ryan Donato to a 4-year deal, which I think that's now a deal. That's a good deal. I think we all saw that coming, especially for a guy that had 30 goals last year. But I think I thought like the Hawks would go out and get a guy like Mitch Marner or Sam Bennett, and they clearly did not. But let's get back to kind of the first line. First line projected, I can see Bedard obviously on the first line. Man, we're so bad. I'm thinking maybe I would like to see a Teravainen possibly on that first line. I also wouldn't mind seeing a guy like Frank Nazar, who is a winger, if I'm not mistaken. Frank Nazar is he's a center. So I don't know who I would put on the first line. Maybe I think like Frundell, because Frundell can play center and winger. But I think that'd be a good first line. Teuvo, Bedard, Frundell. I think both lines have good speed. That line will have a lot of good speed on it. And then we're gonna head into some of the NHL offseason news around the league. And I want to talk about the big one. I think the big one is Mitch Marner going to Vegas. I think that it's a risky pickup for Vegas because Marner just doesn't perform well in the playoffs. He's great in the regular season, but overall in the playoffs, not very good. Again, Mitch Marner's a guy that I wanted because I think the Hawks need somebody. The Hawks need something that's great now. I think and the Hawks have not really shown much interest in really trying to bring in Bedard's help. But back to Marner going to Vegas, I think this is a good sign for Mitch Marner. It's an 8-year, $96 million deal. It was a sign and trade for Toronto, or with Toronto, I should say. And then we had Keandre Miller, who signed an 8-year deal with the Carolina Hurricanes. Victor Arvidsson went to the Bruins. Mikko Rantanen around the league. He's been bouncing around a lot, and the questions of where he should go from. But I think he is going to stay with Dallas for quite a while. Nikolai Ehlers, a 6-year, $51 million deal with the Carolina Hurricanes. Brad Marchand re-signed with the Panthers, and I think Brad Marchand, that is a great signing, re-signing for Marchand. Marchand's such a good veteran presence. He is. I think he's a guy that I think every team kind of needs. An aggravator. I think Brad Marchand is a great aggravator. I think when he was doing the slew footing thing, that was bad. That's not hockey, right? And I'm not gonna say the other thing of what he was doing on the ice, but I think the slew footing thing really ticked a lot of people off. But I think ever since then he really hasn't been as dirty as other players have been. But that's my thoughts on the Brad Marchand re-sign. Nikolai Ehlers, a 6-year, $51 million deal with Carolina. I think it's a good depth piece for Carolina. Ehlers is kind of a streaky player. I mean, one second he's on top of the world, and the next second he's Who the hell is this guy? but I think it's a good sign for Nikolai Ehlers. You know, I think it's a guy that, you know, Carolina's built off speed, especially with, like, you know, guys like Sebastian Aho. I think he'll fit perfectly in Carolina. Hopefully, Carolina can maybe get over the hump of, you know, the conference final and into the Stanley Cup final. But those are my thoughts on what's been going around the NHL. The Blackhawks with they're selecting the first round pick with Anton Frundell, and then we went into that first line. That first line, like, outlook is gonna be very, very, like, chaotic. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that first line. What do you guys think the Blackhawks should do with the first line? How should they surround Bedard? Because Bedard is going to be on the first line. Should they, you know, just put in Frundell immediately? Should they wait a little bit? What do you guys think in the comments below? But that's all I have for you guys today. Our next videos will be about the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox in the upcoming future. Stay tuned for more, subscribe for more, and we'll see you guys in the next one.